Yes, the future has come. The future is right here. We don't need to take it till tomorrow. And our children are the leaders of tomorrow. And it is on this note that we begin the program Education Focus. And right here on Education Focus today, we'll be talking about the topic preschool and its effects. And when I mean effects now, the social effects of preschool on the child. And in the studio with me is a wonderful guest. She's a wonderful woman. And also she's the director of a wonderful school as well. So when we come back from this short break, we'll be talking to her. We'll be meeting her and we'll be talking a lot concerning the issue of preschool and the social effects of preschool on the child. Stay with us.
Carry the song, carry the sound. The future is here. The future is here. Goodbye yesterday, tomorrow is now for the taking. The future is here. The future is here. I am the future. I am the future. I am the dream. Whoa. I am the nation. I am part of this. Yes, I am so amazing. That's the least I shall be. Least I shall be. At the heart of the nation, changing history. How can they say that we are finished? We have just begun. When we have nowhere else to run, we have nowhere else to go. So get out of the way. Out of the land of my dream. I am the nation. I am part of this. So get out of the way of the land of my dreams. I am the nation, I am part of this. Whoa. Carry the song, carry the sound. The future is here. The future is here. Goodbye yesterday, tomorrow is now for the taking. The future is here. The future is here. Raise your hands in the air if you believe the future has come now. The future is here. The future is here. This is all. This is all. This is our country. The future is here. The future. The future has. The future has.
Yes, the future has come. It is the program Education Focus, reaching you from the stables of Radio Global. And my guest in the studio is the director of Cradle Academy. And Cradle Academy is under Imperial Spring Schools. And her name is Mrs. Chioma C. Okoye. How do you do today, Ma?
Very good, thank you.
Well, it's nice to have you right here in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's wonderful. Really, concerning the issue of preschool and its social effects, we'll be talking about that today on the program Education Focus. But before then, I would like you to tell us a bit about yourself.
Great. Well, generally, really, I prefer to be called Catherine Okoye, even though a lot of, friends know me as Chioma, but I like to be called Catherine Okoye. I have not always been in education. I started my career as a banker, and somewhere along the line, when you work for some time and you start thinking, when I leave this job, when I retire, what do I want to do? And for me, it was about mentoring young people. And at what level should you start mentorship? I think as early as possible. And that's how the idea of preschool, kindergarten, elementary came to me. And by the grace of God, it's working out. I think I'm having a good time now, far from the madding crowd as it would be, because in the banking halls, your experience is really very different from what you get when you're dealing with children. They're so innocent and open. And it's really a joy to be with them.
Wow, lovely. So, concerning your family background, the schools you went to, and your children, because I believe you're a married woman, you do have a husband and children.
Yeah, I'm a lucky married woman, married to Victor Okoye, and I have two
Wonderful.
children. Yeah, Anita and Obi, 24, 21. They're in college. I should say I'm one of those people who has thrived in the institution, marriage, family. It's all come together for good, and I believe that's why I have so much time to devote to the school. Because if you're not happy, if you haven't gotten it together, you'll not be able to pass that happiness to the children. And I tell you, that is what they need to thrive. They need a happy, joyous environment. And I think I've been able to provide that. That makes me happy.
So, would you say now that the joy which you feel down deep within is what has radiated even to these children and to the school?
Yes, and I tell you something. This is something, I do have a partner in the school, Mrs. Vivian Ogundipe, and that's one cardinal thing we look out for, happy staff. We need our staff to be happy, because when you see a happy face, when somebody smiles at you, involuntarily you smile back. And when the children are coming to school, they know that they're coming to a warm, happy environment where people are happy to see them. It's really very important that you are happy and you're able to radiate happiness to the children.
Okay. Speaking of happy staff, you mentioned happy staff not too long ago. So, how do you make your staffs happy that they can also make sure that the children are happy as well?
It's very important that you hire the kind of people who share your vision. Happiness really is not about the paycheck. It's about being treated as a human being where you work. It's about knowing that your employers have your back. It's about feeling that you're part of a family. And that's really what we do. We make sure, first of all, that you have the right staff. They need to be qualified. And secondly, that they have the kind of personality that radiates happiness. All right? When you're happy and your employers are happy with you, you look forward to going to work. Because it's not about how much you get paid. That doesn't mean that we don't pay our staff the going rate. We try to be a little above the going rate, because that's what counts. They need to take care of themselves so that they can get to work and be happy.
Yeah, because that's it. That's
what's important, yes.
Right. So, how did your career in education start?
I have said first, I have a BSc in economics and I have an MBA, and that helped me in the banking industry. But what is really within you, like I said that earlier, I love to mentor people. And the only outlet I could find was going into education, and I believe it's been the right decision. Sometimes when you make a scatter diagram of the things you want to do and then you try to draw a straight line, sometimes it doesn't come out that way. But for me, I told you earlier, I'm a lucky person. For me, it came out the right way. I focused on education. Even while I was still working in the bank, I dreamt of this school, and I have been lucky that the dream has come into reality. It wasn't a chance thing. This is something that's always been in me, and thank God I had the opportunity to actualize it.
Thank God for that.
Yes,
really.
Thank you.
And how long would you say you've been in the educational line?
Imperial Springs School, which is the elementary school of Cradle Academy, was licensed in 1998. And being somebody who likes to get things right, we've tinkered around different aspects of early childhood education. And I believe that we now have it right, which is why we have this preschool, this kindergarten school, and the elementary school. So yeah, as a corporate body, we've been in existence since 1998, but Cradle Academy became operational as a preschool in 2009.
To 2009 to date. Okay, all right. So, talking about education now, I think you told us that you were once in the banking industry. So, how was it to move from the banking industry into education?
You know, fortunately, the area of banking I was in, which is like investment banking, exposed me to project development. So I was able to go with my clients on the different aspects of business that they wanted to do. I did things in manufacturing, oil and gas, education. People came for loan advice on setting up of schools. And, you know, as you advise people, you get to know more about yourself, because there are areas that you're working on in projects that you show more interest than others. For me, it was education and has always been.
All right. Right here in the studio is Mrs. Catherine Okoye, and she's the director of Cradle Academy. And she's a wonderful woman, and she has been telling us about her life and how she started with the banking industry and also in the educational line. And she's right here in the studio, and we'll take a short break. And when we come back, we'll be going straight up into preschool. Stay with us.
The future has come. We are the future. We are the dream. We are the nation. We are part of this. Yes, we are so amazing. That's the least we shall be. At the heart of the nation, changing history. How can they say that we are finished? We have just begun. When we have nowhere else to run to, we have nowhere else to go. So get out of the way of the land of our dreams. We are the nation, we are part of this. Oh, we are the nation, we are part of this. Whoa. Carry the song, carry the sound. The future is here. The future is here. Goodbye yesterday, tomorrow is now for the taking. The future is here. The future is here. I am the future. I am the future. I am the dream. I am the nation. I am part of this. Yes, I am so amazing. That's the least I shall be. Least I shall be. At the heart of the nation, changing history. How can they say that we are finished? We have just begun. When we have nowhere else to run to, we have nowhere else to go. So get out of the way of the land of my dream. I am the nation. I am part of this. So get out of the way of the land of my dreams. I am the nation, I am part of this. Whoa. Carry the song, carry the sound. The future is here. The future is here. Goodbye yesterday, tomorrow is now for the taking. The future is here. The future is here. Raise your hands in the air if you believe the future has come now. The future is here. The future is here.
Yes, we're right back on the program Education Focus. And today my guest in the studio is Mrs. Catherine Okoye. She's the director of Cradle Academy. And she's right here, and we'll be talking right now about preschool and its social effects on the child. So Ma, we would like to find out what preschool is really.
Preschool ideally is an educational environment that caters for children between the ages of 2 and 6. Ideally, elementary school should start from age 7. So whatever educational exposure the children have before then is what is called preschool. And it is critical that children are properly focused before they're given very serious academic work. And that's the advantage of preschool.
Okay, you talked about focus now. You said that should be the focus. So focus in what way really?
What I mean is there are a lot of advantages to taking your children to preschool. Ideally from age 2, children should not be left at home to just play and be, taken care of by nannies or relations who perhaps do not have the correct rudiments of child education that children should be getting at that age. And when you take your children to preschool, you give them the opportunity to have structured play and structured learning that's appropriate for their age. And some people would think that you go to preschool to play. It's not a play group, it's a school. And if you have the proper staffing in your preschool, the children would be brought up to be prepared for more intense education when they get into elementary. And in preschool, the children become socially aware because they get to interact with children in their age grade. They get to be guided by teachers and staff and caregivers who have been trained to follow up on the educational and other developments of the children for their ages. You need to know what is age appropriate for the children and make sure that they are exposed to those age appropriate learning opportunities and play. You find that there's a lot of social benefit to allowing children to be in preschool. For example, it is scientifically proven that children between the ages of 3 and 5 develop vocabulary on the average from 900 words to 2,500 words. You want to be sure that they're learning the proper words within that period of their development and that those words are being pronounced in the proper way. Because we are told, and we have seen it, that what you teach children when they're young is what they take with them for life. In a good preschool, children are helped with their vocabulary learning at that early age, not just to know the words, but to pronounce them appropriately and to use them in the proper sentences. Because you find that as vocabulary grows, the children are better able to communicate, and you want to make sure that they are communicating appropriately. Apart from those learning advantages, social advantages of preschool include that your children learn to play cooperatively with others. They learn the art or the science of sharing. And that's a very important skill that helps you in adult life. You want to make sure that your children, especially in today's times where you have smaller family units than you used to have. Many parents have just one child or
just two children.
Yes, or two children. And they may space them such that the older child doesn't have time to play with the younger one. So the younger child is left, to adult nannies who also have their own issues. And that's not what you want for your child. You don't want the nanny to be the one planting the initial learning experiences that your child would have. And some people may say, oh, why is the mother not there? Why is the father not there? Today's economy is such that you need to have double income homes. The cost of living, the cost of schooling is so high that it doesn't make sense to say, mother, you stay home till your child is 7. So preschool fills that vital gap to make sure that your child is getting the appropriate exposure, is getting the appropriate learning, and also to be like a gauge for the developmental progress of your child. Because if it's a proper preschool, they need to know that your child has acquired the appropriate motor skill for their age, and that they're doing the things that people their age are doing.
As well.
Yes. So these are the things. If there's an issue, a good preschool should be able to say to the parent, there is something going on here, let's investigate it. And we all know that a stitch in time saves 9.
Yes, it does.
So
really.
these are just a few of the advantages of preschool.
Okay, you've heard it about the advantages of a preschool and the reason why you should take your child to a preschool. So what does establishing a preschool entail itself?
First, establishing a preschool is like any other business, but the difference is your heart and soul has to be in it, because it is something that shapes children for the future. So you cannot and should not ever do it as a business. It is something about giving back to society, and it's something that your heart and soul really has to be in it. You need to want to make this difference in the lives of these children, because otherwise you can't go set up any other business. And preschool, I assure you, does not make the kind of money that people think it makes. It does not, because for you to run a good preschool, you find yourself plowing back whatever you're getting, because you want your children to be up to scratch. You want to be sure that they're getting the maximum that you have promised the parents they will get. And that makes you constantly plow back. So yes, what does it take to establish a preschool? You need to put your heart and soul and truly believe that what you're going to give is going to make the difference in the lives of the children that are entrusted to you.
Right. Well, after talking about preschool, getting to know what preschool is and what it entails, I also know that you own a preschool, isn't it?
Yes, I do.
All right. So what is the name of your preschool?
Cradle Academy. And Cradle Academy is in Lekki Phase 1. And it's one of the oldest preschools in Lekki. And I do believe that the parents who have entrusted their children to us will bear witness to the fact that we really love those children. And I think that's the reason why we're still in business.
Okay. So I'm still talking about preschool now. You know, you told me the general focus when it comes to preschool in itself. But for your own preschool now, what is the major focus of your school?
We believe that care should be individualized. We run a Montessori preschool, and you do know that the major thing about Montessori is individual learning experience. So we make sure that we keep the size of the classes small. We have no class that has larger than 15 children to 2 teaching and support staff. And that means that each child in each class gets personal attention. And why do we need to do that? Children develop at different paces, and you need to reinforce wherever they are at. If this child wants to work with his hands, he needs plasticine to work with, he needs to feel something, while the other child wants to write at this time. You need to be able to create space for the child who wants to work with his hands to do structured work with his hands, while the child who has shown interest in learning to write is aided to write. You find that at the end of the day, because you have children in the class who have different age range, they seem to learn at an early stage to mentor one another. You know, it's very different from a traditional learning environment where you have 1-year-olds together, 2-year-olds together, and 3-year-olds
for
together.
your school, you have a
Yes.
mixture.
We have them mixed. We have 3-year age band. Okay, so that the older children take the younger ones along with them, and it teaches them also to care for one another. Okay, and we have found that in such an environment, the children learn to be responsible. Okay, and we like to give them responsibility. Many times a child may want to be unruly, and we have learned from experience that when you have a child being unruly, you make that child responsible for ensuring that the class is orderly. You'll be surprised to see the difference it will make in that child's behavior. So that's principally what sells Cradle Academy. We give individual attention to the children in the school because we want to recognize the fact that everybody is different and develops at a different pace.
Okay, so speaking of different age range in a class, because I think from you, I'm just hearing that because for many schools it's not done. They either put the 3-year-olds in one class, they put the 4-year-olds in one class, and things like that. So how do parents tend to cope with this? Because a lot of them might tell you that, okay, why should I have put my child in a class that has maybe 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds when my child's just 3 years old?
The thing is, we have 2 bands. We have 4 to 6, and then we have 2 and 3.5-year-olds. You find that these children are dealing with the same issues of development. And like I said, our aim is to give them a Montessori setting, and this is standard rule in the Montessori education. The children need not just peers at age level, they need people who are going through similar experiences with them. They need to have mentors and mentees, right? They need to see that this 6-year-old is behaving in a responsible, structured manner, and they want to be like that. And the person is there in the same class with them, may not be learning 1 + 1 is 2 because he has gone beyond that level, but he is able to see that the younger one is having a problem and to say, no, put 2 apples together and you see you have 2.
Okay.
And you find that the children are so happy when they're able to help somebody else. And that also translates into other things that they do. And the principal thing you find that is different in children who are being exposed to Montessori education is that they do develop a lot of self-confidence because they see that it is okay to be different. I don't have to be like Peter to be a good person or to be recognized. So it does make a lot of difference. A Montessori preschool, like I have said, is very different from a traditional one, and this is our aim. Individual attention to the children, and you find them blossoming. You find their potentials coming to the fore.
Alright, so individual attention for your child. Well, we're still talking with Mrs. Catherine Okoye. She's the director of Cradle Academy in Lekki. And we'll take this short break, and when we come back, we'll still be discussing preschool and its social effects on the child. Stay with us.
Carry the song, carry the sound. The future is here. The future is here. Goodbye yesterday, tomorrow is now for the taking. The future is here. The future is here. Raise your hands in the air if you believe the future has come now. The future is here. The future is here. This is all, this is all, this is all I'm dreaming. The future is here. The future has, the future has come. We are the future. We are the dream. We are the nation. We are part of this.
how can they say that we are finished? Because we have just begun. And we're just going deeper and deeper into our discussion right here on Education Focus. And as I said before, my guest right here in the studio is Mrs. Catherine Okoye. So what inspired you to go into preschool education?
You know, there are all sorts of studies that tell us, confirm to us, that preschool is critical in the development of a child, socially and otherwise. And like I said, Imperial Springs School, which is, you know, the elementary arm of Cradle Academy, started first in 1998. And having run that for like 5 years, we found out that we needed a preschool. We needed to have children nurtured from that early age to graduate into the elementary school, because it does make a lot of difference. You catch them early, you mold them early, and like they say, the difference is not just clear, it's evident to anybody who wants to look. Yes. So that principally was what motivated us. We started out without a preschool. We found out that it was even more necessary to start with the preschool before you can have children graduating into elementary.
Okay, so speaking of that now, what is the real importance of children going through a preschool?
Now, fortunately, just very recently, there was this program on the cable network, CNN, that showed a 40-year study. Some children were put in a controlled environment. They went through preschool. Another set did not go through preschool. And these professors in this university somewhere in Chicago, I believe, in the US, they followed the life pattern of these people, and they are now 40 years and above, and they have found out that those who went to preschool made out better in life than those who did not. For example, a larger percentage, I believe they said 77% of those who went through preschool made it through high school, whereas those who did not, I think they said like 55% made it through high school. And most of those who made it through high school who had gone through preschool went through university or college, as they call it. And that's not all for social impact of preschool. They found that those who went through preschool respected the environment and the laws better than those who did not, because it was shown that those who did not go through preschool had more of records of bad behavior, of criminal activities and what have you. And so that, you know, brings to the fore what people learn in preschool. And when you learn to do the right thing at a very early age, it follows you through life. So you do not want children, for example, like I said earlier, who are learning vocabulary, to learn the wrong ones, to learn the violent ones, to learn the abusive ones, to see that it is okay to do what pleases them and not what pleases the generality of people. Because you find that children, especially like I have said, in small family units, they are king or queen in their homes. The mom goes to work, dad goes to work, the house help would take care of them before the parents come back. And when the parents come back, they want to spend quality time with their children, so it is not time for correction or for your child crying. You find that these children have a more pervasive influence of people who have really not been trained in early childhood education, because their work is really to take care of the physical needs of the child, not the educational or developmental needs. Therefore, it is important that children go to preschool. Those formative years, from the ages of 2 to 6, would impact on the adult life of these children. So no parent should joke with that. And whatever opportunities are available out there to send children not just to any play group, to a proper preschool where the teachers who are taking care of these children, the caregivers who you entrust your children to, are appropriately qualified and trained in early childhood education.
Right. Now, talking about the children now, or the child socially, in what way does the preschool help to improve a child socially?
Yes, there is a lot of social interaction in schools. When a child gets to school, there's what is called peer pressure. If the majority of the people in the school are behaving in a certain manner, the chances are very high that the child will learn to behave in that way. And so if there is a proper social setting, for example, in play, you find that some children, the first few weeks they are in school for the first time, they play violently and possessively. They want to play a ball game, for example. They cry when the ball is not in their possession. Because at home perhaps they're the only children playing ball, and the nanny is throwing the ball to them at all times. You know that that's really not a game. They come to school, they find other children in their age group, and like 6, 7 children are scrambling for the ball at the same time.
You need to learn how to share.
Exactly, my dear. The children now learn that it is okay to let the other person have the ball for some time, and I can have the ball later. They also learn that it's not all about winning. It's about cooperation. They learn early in preschool that you don't just do what you like when you want to do it, that there has to be structure in relationships. For example, in preschool, they learn that this is time for snack, this is time for lunch. You don't cry 30 minutes into class, I want to eat my biscuit. That's not allowed, okay? So they learn to control appetite, for example, and that goes a long way to help prevent childhood obesity. They learn that there's a proper time to eat, and that you learn proper table manners. You don't talk with food in your mouth. They learn a lot of social skills at that early age, and it would be very difficult as adults to lose those skills.
Okay, you talked about teaching the child how to control eating habits and things like that, but a lot of parents will tell you that at that age, how can you make my child just stay without having to munch something at intervals, that children don't eat that much, so they need to eat little things at some time in order to make sure that their tummy is filled.
It's very interesting that you say this, because a lot of parents thank us for getting their children to eat regular meals at regular times, because you find that the child does know that I have biscuits and I have a drink and then I have my lunch, and that there's a time that it is allowed for me to have my snack. If you don't, structure a child's day, the child is likely to wake you up at 12 midnight and say, can I have my biscuit now? But when your child, even if it's a baby, you learn to feed babies at regular intervals so that you too can get to have a life, and so that the baby's development can also be tracked. In the same way, when they're toddlers, okay, they think they should eat whenever they feel hungry. That's not healthy. They should eat when it's appropriate for them to eat. You find that they even eat more. It's when you know that in the next 30 minutes eating time is over, you better make sure that you eat what you can within that period. And the children find that a set table, for example, during lunch, we make sure that they set the table themselves, put their placemats, their cutlery, and their drink. Okay, so they watch their teachers eat. We insist on good table manners. When they get home, they take that home. I remember in school we have diction classes for children at that age, and a lot of parents have come back to us to say, wow, do you know I said blah blah and my child corrected me? So if the children are learning those things, they carry it with them home, they carry it with them for the rest of their lives.
Well, we're still talking with Mrs. Catherine Okoye, and I must confess that this is a wonderful, wonderful discussion. We've been talking about preschool and its social effects on the child. And speaking of the effects on the child, you just talked about a lot of things. But I also want to find out if the preschool in itself extends to children with special needs.
Yes, preschool, like I said, is from ages 2 to 6, and it's critical for children with special needs to be exposed to preschool, because in preschool, the children who interact with them who do not have special needs learn to accept the children with special needs and integrate them into their play, their lives, their friend circles, okay, so that these children do not feel isolated. And if by the time the child is 6 or 7, the child is now going to a special school, the child already have a sense of self. They would know that it is okay to be different. They would know that they are accepted, whether they're different or not, because really everybody is different. Whether you're physically challenged or educationally challenged, speech challenged or whatever, you are as good as the next person. And when you expose these children with those special needs early enough to social interaction with other children who do not have these special needs, they get the feel that it is okay to be different. So please, I like to say that children with those special needs should be exposed to preschool so that they feel comfortable in themselves and they feel that society accepts them as truly society should accept and encourage them.
Okay, so are there any negative effects of preschool on the child at all?
Of course, for everything that is good, there is a dark side. And many parents with children in preschool say perhaps exposing the children early to structured play and structured learning would dampen the individuality in them. Perhaps this child is going to be a genius, a singer, or whatever, and because you have like structured this child, that special gift may be lost. But I tell you something, it depends on the kind of preschool you send your child. I just told you earlier on that Montessori preschool, and I must say that there are some places where they say Montessori, but it's really not Montessori. If a proper Montessori preschool gives individual attention, so that child with that special skill, that special talent, will be able to improve on that talent. But I tell you something else that is not so good that's happening in preschools, at least in Nigeria, is that many parents think preschool is like daycare. They just send them there to go and play. And as a result of that, they could remove their children. Maybe after 1 year in one preschool, they take the child to another one and another one. So by the time the child is ready for elementary, the child would have attended 3 or 4 preschools and been confused. Because yes, we all want to achieve the same thing, but we have different methods of achieving that same thing. So it is good that you start your child in a preschool, let that child go through the program, because they introduce learning exposure at different paces in the different preschools. That's the only disadvantage I see so far.
Okay. Well, we've been talking about preschool and its social effects on the child, and Mrs. Okoye has been doing justice right here to this particular topic on the program today. Well, we'll be taking a short break, and when we come back, we'll be rounding off this particular package of the program, Education Focus. Don't go nowhere, it is still reaching you from your favorite dial on radio, Radio Global.
So get out of the way of the land of our dreams. We are the nation, we are part of this. Oh, oh. We future is here. The future has come.
Yes, it's the program Education Focus, reaching you from the stables of Radio Global. Well, today on the program, we've been talking about preschool and its social effects on the child. And our guest in the studio has been Mrs. Catherine Okoye. She's the director of Cradle Academy. Well, if you want to reach her at the school, you can go to their website is www.cradle-academy.com, and the cradle is with a K. I'll just take that again, www.cradle-academy.com. And you can also reach Cradle Academy at the school, and the address is 11 Olubumi Rotimi Street, Lekki Phase 1, Lagos. And the phone lines that you can also reach her on are 080-300-5937 and also 0808-247-7717. I'll take the numbers again, 0803-300-5937 and also 0808-247-7717. These are the numbers to call. And please, straight away, go take your child to Cradle Academy, and your child will get good education from this particular school. And as we round off, we would like you to give your advice to parents out there whose children have reached the age of going to a preschool.
Thank you so much. You know, like we said earlier, they're busy parents. You have to go to work and you want the best for your child. As long as the child has shown some independent activity and is able to talk a little, some do this at age 18 months, some by the time they're 2. It is indeed time to take them to a preschool. And we advise that it is better for you, no matter how expensive or otherwise you think, to send your child to preschool than leave the child at home with nannies or much older relations. Because in today's times, the earlier you set your child on the right path, the better for all concerned. So parents, don't let your child be left behind. Send them to a preschool, and we will welcome you anytime you come to Cradle Academy. Thank
Wonderful. You. And her email is cradleacademy@ymail.com, and you can also reach her on that email. Well, as I said before, my guest in the studio has been Mrs. Catherine Okoye of Cradle Academy. And when I mean Cradle, Cradle with a K, Cradle Academy. It was nice having you on the program, Ma.
Thank you so much. It's been so wonderful being here.
Thank you very much. And we hope when we call you some other time, you'll be able to come.
You can bet on that.
Wow. It is still the program Education Focus. And today we've been talking a lot about preschool. So do send your child to a preschool, and not just a preschool, a good preschool with Montessori education. Well, from us at Radio Global and at Education Focus, it is bye for now.
Carry the song, carry the sound. The future is here. The future is here. Goodbye yesterday, tomorrow is now for the taking. The future is here. The future is here. I am the future. I am the future. I am the dream.
God is with us. God is with us. God is with us. And you will our God. Oh, no matter Emmanuel, God is with us. Woo! Put your hands. You got it. Yeah. Come on and sing, God is with us. Emmanuel, oh yeah. No matter, you see, there's one thing we know. Emmanuel, our God. Made a way in the wilderness, calm the raging sea, the lily of my valley. He's always there for me. Even in the shadow of death, there's no need to fear. For Emmanuel, our God. Come on and put your hands together with us. Yes, sing God is. See God is. Emmanuel. And he's with us. No matter. You see, there's one thing we know. Emmanuel, our God. Where can we go from your presence, Lord? There's nothing you don't know. Your throne is high in the heavens, Lord. You're everywhere we go, yeah. Darkness cannot hide us. Your light always shines. Emmanuel. Come on and sing it. See God is. Yes, he is Emmanuel. He's with us. No matter. You see, there's one thing we know. Emmanuel, our God. Oh, yeah. God is with us. He's always near us. God is with us. He's always near us. And he walks with me. And he talks with me. Yes, he is. God is with us. I know for myself. Emmanuel, our God. No matter. There's one thing. You see, Emmanuel. Oh yeah. See, God is with us. Oh yeah. Emmanuel, our God. No matter. You see, this one thing. See, Emmanuel. Oh yeah. Emmanuel, our God. Emmanuel, our God. Oh yeah. God is with us. Yeah. If you're glad God is with you, shout amen. I mean, if you're glad God is with you, shout amen. Oh yeah. We're living in a day and time when it seems like the moral fabric of our society is deteriorating every single day. What we need is not a new political agenda. What What we don't need is a new religious debate. But what we need is the fire and the power of the Holy Spirit. Rain down from heaven. Flood each thirsty soul. This is what we got to do.
Don't give up. Stand and fight for what you know is right. And I know that it will be alright. Just you wait and see. Oh my Lord. There'll be time when I know you'll have to stay and cry and ask the Father what's the reason why all these things must be. Want you to see if you won't give up. Soon these dark clouds they will pass you by. Yes, they will. Like an eagle, you take wings and fly. If you just believe, we want you to see. Remember, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Weeping may endure for a night. Joy comes in the morning. Oh, 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 everything
Everything is gonna be alright.
is gonna be alright.
Everything is gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be alright. Just you
Don't give up.
give up.
Stand and pray for what you know is right. That's what I'm doing right now.
Give up.
And I know everything's gonna be alright. Yes, it will. The Lord promised me. He wants you to see. Remember, through your sickness and pain, He said it'd be there, right there. Woo! Through your sunshine and rain, I know He'll be there, right there. Remember, everything's gonna be alright. Gonna be alright. I know it will. Everything's gonna be alright. Don't worry, don't worry. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Yes, it will. Everything's gonna be alright. Don't give up, 'cause everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be alright.